A simple teacup became the weapon of choice in an elaborate assassination plot against Burkina Faso's President Ibrahim Traoré. As the cup was placed before him during a meeting, something felt wrong. The server was unusually nervous, and Colonel Yaya Konate seemed oddly insistent that the president drink immediately. Instead of taking a sip, Traoré made a decision that would expose the entire operation. He ordered his aide to drink the tea instead. When Colonel Konate frantically objected, the president revealed he'd known about the plot all along, setting in motion a counterintelligence operation that would eventually catch a foreign spy known only as Le Shakal. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now back to the video. What if the difference between life and death came down to a text message from an unknown number? For President Ibrahim Traoré, that's exactly what happened on that critical morning in Ouagadougou. Just 6 hours before a scheduled security meeting, his personal phone buzzed with a message. Be careful of the tea they offer you today. The warning contained no additional details, no names, no specific threats, no indication of who might be involved or their motives. No signature, no way to verify the source. Just those 9 words that would mean the difference between life and death. Traoré stared at his phone, contemplating the message. As the leader of a country experiencing significant political turbulence, threats weren't uncommon. But this one was different, specific yet vague, timely yet impossible to verify. Should he trust an anonymous tip or dismiss it as an attempt to create paranoia and disrupt his schedule? The political climate in Burkina Faso made such threats disturbingly credible. Since taking power in September 2022 through a military coup, Traoré had made powerful enemies. His anti-French stance and pivot toward Russia had angered Western powers who had long maintained influence in the region. His crackdown on corruption had threatened entrenched interest within the country's elite circles. The list of potential enemies grew longer with each reform he implemented. His military intelligence background proved crucial in this moment. Before becoming president at just 34 years old, Traoré had served as a captain in the Burkinabe Special Forces. He had experience evaluating threats, reading situations, and making life-or-death decisions under pressure. This training didn't just shape his leadership style. It had prepared him for moments exactly like this. Traoré immediately ordered his security team to conduct a sweep of the meeting room scheduled for later that day, but not to change any arrangements. If someone was planning to poison him, he wanted the plot to proceed, but under his watchful eye. The trap would only work if the conspirators believed they still had the element of surprise. The psychological weight was immense. Traoré needed to maintain complete normalcy throughout his morning appointments, while constantly evaluating who around him might be involved in the plot. Every aide, every staff member, every official became a potential threat. Yet showing any sign of suspicion might alert the conspirators and cause them to abort their plan, only to try again when he wasn't prepared. He reviewed the meeting attendees list. The Security Council gathering would include ministers, military officials, and regional commanders, all people who should be loyal. But loyalty in politics is often conditional, especially in a country that had seen 2 coups in less than a year. When the appointed hour arrived, Traoré made the decision to attend the meeting as scheduled. He arrived with his usual small security detail, not wanting to signal any change in routine. But he had privately briefed his closest aide about the warning and instructed him to watch for anything unusual regarding beverages served during the meeting. The anonymous tip had provided just enough information for Traoré to be alert to the specific threat, tea, without revealing the plot to the conspirators. This narrow focus proved crucial. Rather than causing general paranoia that might have been visible to others, Traoré could behave normally while paying special attention to one potential vector of attack. The president understood that the next challenge would be confirmation. If someone did offer him tea, how could he verify it contained poison without alerting the conspirators? Refusing all beverages would signal his knowledge of the plot. Accepting it would be potentially fatal. He needed a third option that would expose the would-be assassins while protecting himself. As Traore took his seat at the head of the conference table, he maintained his usual demeanor, serious, focused, and authoritative. No one in the room could detect that he was scanning each face, noting each interaction, all while participating in discussions about regional security threats. The irony wasn't lost on him that while they discussed external security threats, the most immediate danger might be sitting right at the table. The true test would come when refreshments were served, as they typically were during long security briefings. Traoré had decided on a strategy that would either expose the plot or reassure him that the warning had been a false alarm. When the tea arrived, Traoré would need to observe carefully who seemed anxious about whether he would drink, who insisted he try a specific cup. Any deviation from normal protocols could confirm his suspicions, but confirming them would be only the beginning. He would then need to expose the conspirators without alerting them, ensuring they would face justice rather than escape. As the meeting began and aides started to prepare the customary refreshments in an adjacent room, Traoré steeled himself for what would come next. The anonymous warning had prepared him for this moment, but now he needed to transform that warning into action, without letting anyone know he was prepared. What subtle signs reveal a poisoning attempt in progress? For President Traoré, the answer would soon become clear as the scheduled security meeting progressed at the presidential palace in Ouagadougou. The meeting had been underway for nearly an hour, with various officials reporting on security situations across Burkina Faso's regions. As the discussions continued, a young server entered with a tray of refreshments, a common occurrence during these lengthy sessions. But something about this server immediately caught Traoré's attention. His hands trembled slightly as he distributed cups to the officials, seated around the large wooden table. Traoré observed the server carefully, noting how his eyes darted nervously around the room. When the young man approached the president, Colonel Yaya Konate, an old officer with sharp mind and cold eyes, spoke up unexpectedly. "Mr. President, you must try this special tea. It was prepared specifically for you," Konate said, his voice carrying an unusual tone of insistence. The colonel's sudden interest in refreshments seemed out of character for the typically serious military man. The server placed the teacup before Traoré with unsteady hands, spilling a few drops on the saucer. The room fell into an odd silence as several officials paused their conversations to watch. An atmosphere of unspoken expectation filled the air, creating a tension that seemed disproportionate to the simple act of serving tea. Traoré noted several concerning behaviors: the server's obvious nervousness, Colonel Konate's unusual insistence, and the strange attention from others in the room. The server avoided eye contact, standing back with his hands clasped behind him, but remained close enough to observe whether the president would drink. Throughout history, poison has been the silent assassin in political struggles. From ancient Rome to modern politics, it offers what assassins prize most: deniability. In recent years, several African political figures had faced suspected poisoning attempts, making this threat particularly credible in the region's volatile political landscape. The president lifted the cup, appearing to examine its contents casually. He inhaled subtly, though he knew modern poisons are often odorless and tasteless. Time seemed to slow as he considered his options. Refusing the drink outright might alert the conspirators that he suspected something. Drinking it could be fatal if his suspicions were correct. Traoré set the cup down without drinking and smiled calmly. "This tea looks excellent, but I'm concerned about my aide here. He seems tired today. Perhaps he should have this cup to help him stay alert during our long meeting." Before anyone could object, Traoré motioned to his personal aide, a young lieutenant who had been with him since his days as a captain. "Lieutenant, please enjoy this. The colonel says it's a special blend." The aide, unaware of the morning's warning message, reached for the cup. In that instant, Colonel Konate's composed facade cracked. His eyes widened and he half rose from his chair. "No, that cup is—" Konate stopped abruptly, realizing his reaction had revealed everything. "That cup is what, Colonel?" Traoré asked calmly. "Specially prepared for me?" The room froze in tension as understanding dawned on everyone present. With a swift motion, Traore signaled his security team, who had been positioned just outside the door. They entered immediately, weapons drawn. "Arrest Colonel Konate and the server," Traore ordered. "Search the server thoroughly." Within minutes, security personnel discovered a tiny plastic vial hidden in the server's sock. VXT-42, a slow-acting neurotoxin, colorless, tasteless, and odorless, capable of killing a man within minutes after ingestion. The president's military training had saved his life. Years of evaluating threats in combat situations had attuned him to the subtle indicators of danger, the behavioral inconsistencies that often betray deception. The server's trembling hands, Konate's unusual interest in his refreshment, the strange quiet that fell over the room. These were all signals that triggered Traore's instincts. "My years in special forces taught me to smell betrayal before I see it," Traore later told his security staff. "The warning message confirmed what I would have suspected anyway." The arrest set off an immediate investigation. Both the server and Colonel Konate were taken to separate military facilities for questioning. Initial interrogations revealed that the server, a young man recently hired to the palace staff, had been paid a substantial sum to add the contents of the vial to the president's tea. He claimed to know nothing about who had supplied the poison, only that Colonel Konate had acted as the intermediary. Konate himself refused to speak initially, maintaining a stoic silence during the first hours of questioning. However, when presented with evidence of the poison and the server's testimony, he began to crack. The president's security forces seized Konate's phone and personal documents, discovering communications that suggested a much larger conspiracy. The laboratory analysis of the VXT-42 neurotoxin provided another crucial piece of information. This wasn't a locally produced substance. The sophistication of the poison pointed to resources beyond the capability of domestic opponents. The investigation would need to expand beyond Burkina Faso's borders to identify who had supplied such a specialized assassination tool. Who pulls the strings when a president's life hangs in the balance? In the case of Ibrahim Traoré, the answer lay hidden in a small notebook found in the possession of the arrested tea server. Investigators combing through the server's belongings discovered a coded notebook containing a series of names, dates, and financial transactions. Most entries use code names in abbreviated locations, but one name appeared repeatedly, Le Shakal. The notebook detailed a substantial payment made to the server just days before the assassination attempt. "This wasn't a spontaneous act of treason," noted the lead investigator. "This was a carefully orchestrated operation with multiple players." The methodical nature of the entries suggested something far more concerning than a domestic plot. The sophistication pointed to professional intelligence work. President Traoré immediately recognized the significance of the codename. 3 months earlier, Burkina Faso intelligence had intercepted a phone call mentioning Le Shakal in connection with foreign operatives monitoring government activities. What seemed like a routine intelligence report at the time now took on deadly importance. Traoré assembled a small, trusted team of intelligence officers and cyber experts to track down the mastermind. The investigation needed to remain secret. If foreign intelligence agencies were involved, any leak could compromise their efforts and tip off the conspirators. The team's cyber expert focused on Colonel Konate's communications, analyzing phone records and digital footprints. While most communications appeared normal, they discovered something unusual: a text message received from a burner phone used only once. The message read, "For the cup tomorrow he will see nothing." Using cellular tower data and satellite pings, the team traced the signal to a location less than 2 kilometers from the French consulate in Ouagadougou. This proximity raised immediate red flags given Traoré's recent tensions with France, following his decision to expel French military forces from Burkina Faso. The signal originated specifically from a luxury apartment building in Ouaga, 2000, an upscale neighborhood popular with diplomats and foreign business professionals. The building's security features included keycard access and private parking, but suspiciously lacked hallway cameras, suggesting someone knowledgeable about surveillance techniques had chosen it. Traoré authorized a covert surveillance operation, codenamed Operation Glass Eye. Instead of storming the location, which might alert the suspect or create diplomatic tensions, they deployed surveillance teams disguised as everyday workers. cleaners, fruit sellers, and delivery personnel positioned around the building. One soldier, posing as a maintenance worker, gained access to the building and installed miniature cameras in strategic locations like hallway corners and ventilation shafts. For 3 days, the team monitored all movement in and out of the building. Their patience paid off when they identified a suspicious individual, a tall, pale-skinned man with a sharp jawline who always wore dark glasses and a hat. He didn't match any known embassy staff, yet possessed a key to apartment 3B, the exact location that matched the burner phone's signal. The suspect maintained careful habits, varying his departure times and vehicles each day. But he made one crucial mistake. He ordered food delivery. This provided the surveillance team an opportunity to capture clear images and, importantly, a voice recording. The team ran the voice through specialized voice recognition software and produced a match. Alexandre Morel, a French intelligence officer with extensive operations history in West Africa. Though officially retired, Morel was known in classified intelligence circles by his operative name, Le Shakal. His profile matched perfectly. Decades of experience in destabilization operations across Francophone Africa, fluent in local languages, and with a network of contacts throughout the region. Most damning was his connection to French intelligence services that had publicly opposed Traoré's pivot toward Russia and away from traditional French influence. Rather than immediately moving to arrest Morel, Traoré approved a bold plan. A fake invitation was sent to Morel through one of Colonel Konate's associates who had been turned by Burkinabe intelligence. The invitation suggested a meeting with potential new conspirators at a guest house within the presidential compound, a location where Morel could be captured without public attention. When Morel arrived at the meeting point, expecting to meet new allies, he instead found himself surrounded by Burkinabe special forces. The evidence against him was overwhelming. The burner phone messages, financial transactions to the server and Colonel Konate, and the vial of VXT-42 neurotoxin traced to French military laboratories. The trail of communications, financial transfers, and Morel's identification created a direct link between the assassination attempt and foreign intelligence operations. This evidence confirmed what Traoré had suspected. External powers were actively working to remove him from office. This revelation transformed Traoré's approach to security and national sovereignty. He established a new intelligence unit focused exclusively on countering foreign interference, tightened screening procedures for all palace staff, and accelerated military cooperation with Russia as a counterbalance to Western influence. In a private meeting with his cabinet following Morel's arrest, Traoré expressed a sentiment that would define his leadership moving forward. They tried to remove me with a poisoned cup, but instead awakened a nation to the poison of foreign control. Today, that ordinary teacup sits on a stone pedestal at Burkina Faso's National Military Academy. What was meant as an instrument of death now serves as a powerful teaching tool. To the cadets who pass it each day, it carries Traoré's message. A nation is only as strong as the loyalty of its lowest guard. The assassination attempt revealed a harsh truth about power in Africa. Survival requires more than bulletproof vehicles and armed guards. It demands preparation, awareness, and courage to face betrayal directly. While attempts to control Africa's future through assassination will continue, Traoré's message remains unwavering. Vigilance is the only defense against those who would undermine sovereignty.